BBC Radio Manchester 95.1 FM. I'm Heather Stott. Now, an Iranian family living in Manchester say their lives will be in danger if government officials go ahead with plans to deport them back to Iran. Mohammed Vahidi applied for asylum in 2007 after he says he was linked to leaking details on Iran's nuclear industry. But the application was refused, and in June the family was told they would be sent back to Iran. So, what has happened since then? Well, the family has since been granted leave to remain here in this country, except for the eldest son, Farid. Farid has not been granted any help at all to stay here, to remain in this country. So what they're doing is Farid and his brother Fahad are now training for the Greater Manchester Run to raise money for RAPAR, who are a human rights charity who are based here in Manchester. Farid, I hope I've summed up the story so far.
Yes, you have indeed, yes.
Yeah. So you can't go back to Iran.
And that is absolutely true.
So you can't go back to Iran. The bulk of your family has been given leave to remain here.
Well, they have not been granted a visa yet, but a judge of an upper tribunal has ruled that it is unsafe for them to be returned, and they need to be granted some sort of visa or a leave to remain in the UK. The UKBA has not sent them any documents saying that, okay, this is your visa, you can live here yet, but they have to, because there is nothing that they can reverse now.
Right, okay. So your family are safe?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, but you're not?
I am absolutely not, no.
Right. So what do you know why you have not been granted?
Well, because my family arrived in the UK about just over a year before I did, and when I arrived in the UK, I was over 18 years old, and then I would be considered as an adult, and then I wouldn't be taken under their case, under their claim.
So your case is considered separately with you as an adult.
Yes.
And so therefore your asylum is considered as a different case to that of your family.
That is absolutely true, what you just said, because when my family left, due to few reasons, the first one and most importantly, I love the town I was born and brought up in, and I loved my country. I didn't want to leave, and then I was happy where I was living.
Right, and so you didn't want to leave Iran, you were happy there?
Of course I didn't, and then it's just fair to say that when my parents and brother left Iran first, they didn't flee, they just came on a visa as a tourist. And then whilst they were in the return, the circumstances changed a little bit, not a little bit, quite significantly, that my father could not return back anymore.
Right.
But I didn't have any problem. I was a little bit on a short leash. I was being watched closely, but I could still live on with my life. But about a year after, it reached a point, and I had some other issues myself as well, which I could not remain in the country anymore, so I had to flee. But when I arrived, I was over 18, and then I was considered as a separate person with my own separate case, which was considered separately, regardless how connected and linked these two cases were together.
Right. So how has the human rights charity based here in Manchester, RAPAR, helped you?
Well, RAPAR helped us pretty greatly since mid-2010, which we had our last interviews, and then we were required to leave the country by the UKBA at the 1st of July 2010. As I remember correctly, I was called to the UKBA's office in Liverpool with my dad, and then it was only one day after the hearing tribunal of my own case, and then in there we were told, we called you two because you are the case owners. It was my father for his own case, with my mother and brother on his dependents, and then me on my own. And they told us we have only 28 days to leave this country, otherwise we will be removed enforceably, and or we could go with an IOM, which is an international organization which helps people to return their homes. At that time and moment, IOM did not help anyone from anywhere to go back to Iran, because this country was not considered to be safe at all for anyone just to return, and no matter what they've done, and what was the reason they were fleeing the country. But the UKBA postponed that removal date that they gave us initially on 28th of June, and we were given another one on 20th of August 2010, which my family, my parents and my brother went on hiding only few hours before the UKBA officials arrived in our home.
Because they were frightened that they would be deported.
Yeah, and because they came to take them under detention, and they would be deported in 72 hours after they were detained and under custody. So they were on the run, because even though the UKBA and the tribunal system did not believe them that they were in danger, they knew that they would, and returning was not just an option. It wasn't like we weren't on a story that we would say it's a hard thing to go back and we will face difficulties. It was impossible to go back.
So it wasn't that they feared that it would be difficult in Iran. They actually thought that they would be in some kind of danger.
Well, it was a life and death situation, to be very frank.
Right. What do you fear will happen to you if you get sent back?
Well, as I just said, I left about just over a year after my parents left. So, well, considering being the son of that family, and what has happened to us during the past few years that we've been here, just returning and being the son of that family is a danger on its own. Okay. And then I've had my own issues with myself, with the Iranian officials, and if I go back, I will be persecuted for those reasons, and also for what my parents have done, because they will not be sent back anymore now.
So now, as well as getting help from RAPAR, you're trying to help them by doing the Great Manchester Run to raise money for them.
Yeah.
So at least you must feel like you're doing something, even if it's only raising money for RAPAR.
Well, to be honest, that's the way that RAPAR works, because during the whole thing, since mid-2010, I was the person who was in charge of my family's case in RAPAR.
Right.
And that is the way that RAPAR works, because meanwhile, if they say, okay, we accept your case, you're in now, and then we will let you know, then during that time, you're not feeling good, you're feeling left alone. And then if they come up with a negative outcome, then you say they didn't do anything. But they do. We do. Me as a part of RAPAR, as a volunteering RAPAR, I would say we do, and that's why we ask people, whoever comes in and asks us for help, we want them to participate, so they see what is happening, and they can see the progress, and they can be in charge. And I said it before as well in another speech, but the control over all lives is taken away from us the moment we claim asylum.
Right.
And being in no sort of control just is frustrating. But what we do in RAPAR, we give some sort of control back to the person, or to me, myself, from personal experience. So you're feeling better, and you're feeling that you are making progress. That's what RAPAR does. And then
you actually have some control over your life in a situation that normally you would have no control or very little control.
Yes, or even if it is not an absolute control, at least you feel you have some control.
So what happens next? What's the timeline now? What's the next stage in this for you?
Well, in this, for me, my family has been granted asylum, even though they've not received any visas yet, but that is a decision, as I just said before. It cannot be reversed by the UKBA, and a judge has ruled that. And considering, because, as I just said, I'm the son of that family, and then returning for that, only that reason can be dangerous, and also for other things that I've done since I'm in the UK, because I was considered myself to be in a safe place.
But when will you hear next? What's the next thing that you have to go through? What's the next hurdle or the next stage of your appeal?
Well, I personally need to submit a fresh claim to the UKBA.
So you've got to start all over again?
Well, that's true, yeah.
Right. How long does that take?
Well, we cannot say, because the UKBA caseworkers can take as much as they want to consider a case. For instance, my own case, my initial claim that I came in, it was interviewed on 13th of November 2007. The answer to that interview did not come in until June 2010.
Right.
So it's like, it was 2.5 years. It can take as much as they want, and then there is absolutely in their hands, really.
Do you find it stressful?
Well, it is very stressful, really. It is. Because the society that you live in, your house, and all the thoughts around you are about that. You're an asylum seeker, you're a foreign person, you don't belong here. And as far as you are not given any sort of asylum or any refugee status, you see yourself as an outsider, and you feel that other people are seeing you as an outsider as well. They don't see you as a part of the community. You're seen as a person who is here, but is not meant to be. And at least, even if the people are not seeing you like that, I'm not incriminating anyone,
No.
but that is the feeling you have.
I understand completely. Yeah, that must be not a very pleasant place or position.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, and you can't get on with your life, and this has been since 2007, and we're now in 2012. So you know, you just can't get on with your life. There's nothing.
Well, you're
can
not
do.
permitted to work. You are not. Recently, you're not even permitted to have a driving license. You are only allowed to have some certain money, and then you cannot do whatever you want, and you cannot choose where you want to live, and you have all those sorts of problems in front of you.
So it's a very restricted life at the moment.
It is.
Back to the Great Manchester Run that you're doing. How's the training going for that?
Well, training is going really good, to be honest, because personally I haven't been training for a really long while, and then getting my gear back on and then starting to run again feels really good. My brother keeps pretty fit. He's doing public service. He plays a lot of basketball. He's in a very good shape, and even though he's younger than me, he's my coach at the moment. But the main reason that I signed up to do this run, and I took my brother along with me to help Rapar, was Rapar helped us really well, and not in a million years we can ignore what they did to us, and we cannot forget. And by doing this, I want to help Rapar to keep helping other people.
Do you have a website that people can help out financially?
Well, yes, sure. If you go to the www.rapar.org.uk. That's
RAPAR.
It is RAPAR. It stands for Refugees and Asylum Seeker Participatory Action Research. People can go there on the front page. You can see the photo of me and my brother, and you can just take a link and go to the website.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us, Farid.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed. Farid Vahidi talking to you here on BBC Radio Manchester.